The content in this podcast is the property and rights of the original authors. I simply do some research and recite it back to you. Listener discretion is advised. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Devin Zahn, and welcome to episode 4 of Tales for the Dark, Creepy Internet Stories. We got another great show for you guys today, and before, of course, we get into the stories, we got a couple things to do in terms of housekeeping. Got a couple dad jokes for you, we got a taste test for you, and I hope it lightens the mood before we get into the dark tales that I'm going to be telling you today. So without further ado, let's get into it. Starting with a couple dad jokes for you. We've got more from the Country Living website, so let's just roll into it with a couple dad jokes. I only know 25 letters of the alphabet. I don't know why. Okay, come on, that's a good one. If you can't get that, I mean, yeah, we got an issue. I'm just kidding. How does the moon cut his hair? Eclipse it. Another good one. I do enjoy that as well. That is a very good dad joke. What did one wall say to the other? I'll meet you at the corner. Alright, yeah, okay, the last ones on this list are pretty good, so, I mean, I definitely enjoy that, too. Alright. What did the 0 say to the 8? That belt looks good on you. Okay, I spoke too soon. I don't get that. What did the 0 say to the 8? That belt looks good on you. I don't get it. I'm sorry, I don't. Maybe someone else gets it, and I'm just not smart enough to understand it. I don't know. Next one. If I can read it. Oh my gosh. Okay, I can't read it. A skeleton walks into a bar and says, "Hey, bartender, I'll have 1 beer and a mop." I'm struggling to get that. I don't think I do, to be honest. Okay, we're gonna do 3 more because the last 2 were not the best. This one's actually good. Where do fruits go on vacation? Paris. Now we're talking. See, that's what I'm talking about. That's a good one. Okay, I like that. I asked my dog what 2 minus 2 is. He said nothing. I mean, that's more, obvious than anything. But still a good one nonetheless. What did baby corn say to mama corn? Where's popcorn? Yep, that's probably the good one for the day. Alright, I'll take that. So that is, I believe, 6 dad jokes, 2 of which were not on the good side, but nonetheless, I really do hope you guys enjoyed that. We got a few more housekeeping things to get in here before we actually get into the stories themselves. We do have a creepypasta, we do have a true crime, and we also have a true paranormal / cryptid story. So we have a lot to go on with today's podcast, and stick around because we are also going to be doing a taste test, and let me tell you, this taste test is a doozy. So I'm going to put away these dad jokes, and I am going to pull that out here. We got a couple of them. They're all kind of the same thing, but a little bit different at the same time. Okay, so for our taste test today, we have 3 different things to try, all kind of in the same category. we are going to be trying cricket bites. I ordered this off of Amazon, and I actually got 3 different flavors for us to try today. We have buffalo wing sauce, hickory smoked bacon, and cheesy ranch. They're all just flavored crickets, basically. We're going to be eating more bugs, and yeah, let's get right into it with the first one. I think I'm going to try the buffalo wing sauce first. So, buffalo wing sauce crickets. I am nervous for this. Let's try this. If I puke, I hope I don't puke on the camera. Or the microphone, I should say. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay. I'm not going to enjoy this. I can tell you that already. I can't even get one out. Okay, they're tiny. When they say cricket bites, they literally mean cricket bites. So, hickory smoked bacon. Oh, this has, like, flavor dust all over it. Let's see. Oh, God. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do the other ones. I'm trying to not to get any legs or antennas in my teeth. Oh my god. A little crunchy, to be honest. Buffalo wing sauce, I don't recommend that one. That one is a little on the nasty side. We're going to try the cheesy ranch one now. Why was I excited to try this? Because this is exactly what I expected. I knew I was going to hate this. Oh my god, this one's even worse. These are all like just... It's like these have been reduced to dust. Oh my god. Okay, this one's going to be interesting. This is the cheesy ranch one. It has a potent smell to it. Oh my god. Am I really going to do this? I already ate one. And I still got bits of it in my teeth. Okay, here we go. Cheddar ranch. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay. It's not so much the taste that's bad, it's the texture. I'm eating actual bugs right now. And it's good to know I'm not going to be eating more than one of each, so... Oh my god. It feels like I'm eating cockroaches. Oh my god. Get out of my teeth. Get out of my teeth. Okay, there you go. Okay. I was just about to wash it down with something. You probably heard that on the microphone. Okay, got one more, thank god. This one is hickory smoked bacon, whole roasted crickets. I don't get how you guys do this, because I can't do this again. And it's gonna, that flavor, I mean, the flavor's good, but it's gonna haunt me just because I know I was eating crickets. Okay. I know, I'm just staring at the bag, just kind of just like, do I really want to do this one more time? I am not eating that one. That one looks like it has a stinger on it. I didn't even know crickets could have stingers. Or maybe it's just a leg. Oh god, I'm gonna hate myself for this. Alright. Just gotta do it. Just gotta do it. If I puke, I puke. Okay? Okay, here we go. Oh my god, it's stuck in my teeth. It literally... Oh my god, I can't believe I just did that. Well, that's our taste test for today. Thank god, I'm done with that. Why did I force myself to do this? I don't know. Because it is now stuck in my teeth, and I got 3 different flavors of crickets in my mouth. So... Oh god. So what would I give them? Flavor-wise, not so bad. Uh, as for the texture and the thought of even eating a cricket, I'm gonna have to give it a lower score because this is definitely something I'm never gonna do again. So, Kurt and Krista, I'm gonna be sending this your way for your podcast, The Strange Sessions. And yeah, no, that would be a hard no for me ever again. Um, it's gonna be I'm gonna give that a 4 out of 10. I mean, the flavor's there. It's just it looks like you're eating like small cockroaches, and it feels like it too. So, um, I will let you guys know later on if I end up getting sick from this because that was just disgusting. All right, so that's basically all we got for housekeeping on this episode. So without further ado, we are going to get into our first story, which this time around is going to be another creepypasta story, followed by a true crime story, followed by another cryptid story. So, our first story for today is going to be our creepypasta story, and this one comes from creepypasta.wiki.com. And this one actually kind of teased on the Facebook page with a couple a picture, and well, it was kind of vague, so be surprised if everyone knows what this story is. This is called The Red Room. So let's get into it. This was a creepypasta I wrote when I was 16, based on this Japanese flash video that is rumored to have been a favorite of Nevada Tan, the 6th grader who caused the assassinable slashing in 2004. I submitted a heavily censored version of my school's creative writing book, but the following is much, much darker than the original. It was almost 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and the large suburban Edwin McDonald High School had just let out for the weekend. A tall, mature-looking young man, Eric, stood alone in one of the classrooms, leaning on someone's desk and flipping through the rift of papers in his hands. A long weekend was coming up, and almost everyone had something due, so that afternoon had become a last hand-in opportunity. There were probably less than 15 students still in the building. A fair-haired, respectable boy about Eric's age came into the room and slammed his fair-sized backpack onto a desk. "Hey, you're still here?" Eric simply glanced up, not faltered by the noise. "I have a lot of papers to put in, Ramsey." "Well, everyone else is leaving now." He gestured to the door. 3 mousy-looking girls walked by, chattering. "You're still going to come over tomorrow night, right?" "I wouldn't drop my plans without saying," Eric said with a shrug. He often found himself the least energetic of the pair. Ramsey was a nice guy, but he was way too wild sometimes. "Oh, by the way," Ramsey pulled himself up to sit on one of the desks. "I heard a rumor about a deadly pop-up on the internet called The Red Room." Eric finally looked up, his face disturbed. "You heard what?" "The Red Room." "Why is it called that?" "I don't know, but it's like this." Ramsey paused, smirking, trying to gather whatever story he had. "Someone will be on the internet, and everything's all normal at first, but a pop-up comes up out of nowhere. It doesn't say anything other than, 'Do you like?' Question mark. You could always close it." "Well, that's the thing. If anyone tries to close it, they die." Ramsey ended this with a hiss, wiggling his fingers in the air. Eric laughed a little bit. "Come on, that doesn't make any sense," he retorted, throwing his jacket on. "How do you know it even exists?" "It just does. I have to test it to be sure." Ramsey was agitated now. "I heard a couple people have actually died from it." Eric was at the door now. "I hope not, man. Now, I need to get these to Mr. Granger," he said with a wave of the papers in his hand. Sure. Just be sure to come over tomorrow." "I will." "My sister's bringing her Kung Fu movie collection. I'm still not going to miss it. Good, Ramsey waved him off. I'll see ya. Eric headed up the hall with a bit of a sigh. Why would you want to do that to yourself? It was about an hour before Eric finally got home. He had got some groceries on the way to the apartment house and knew his father would almost certainly be working late at the office again. As he was stepping into their apartment, he called out, Dad? I got some things. Nothing but silence greeted him. As he put away the groceries, his mind flipped back to Ramsey and the pop-up. Maybe there's some kind of news release or a death report, he thought. If the pop-up actually killed someone, there's gotta be a written word of it, right? Eric sat down at the computer in his room, hoping to ascertain that the rumor was or was not true. He went directly to a search engine typing in killer pop-up, death by pop-up, and pop-up window murders, and a variety of similar things. But repeatedly, he found nothing. He assumed that Ramsey had been pulled into yet another hoax, and let it be. He went off to check his email and found a few other sites. Less than 10 minutes later, while he was back on the search engine, a small rectangular pop-up appeared on screen. Eric looked at it and looked away, and then looked back again in alarm. The pop-up read, "Do you like?" Eric stared at the pop-up for a few moments, wondering what to do. Ramsey's words still echoed in his head. If anyone tries to close it, they die. He considered calling him for help, but Ramsey would probably overreact and call the police. He moved the mouse pointer around the pop-up, checking for another link or more text. It could only be either a joke, ad, or a virus, as far as he knew. Eric closed his main window, checking if the smaller one could be connected to it, but the little pop-up remained. Huh, very funny, Eric muttered. He moved the mouse to the X button, wondering if he should go ahead and close it, all the while arguing with his brain. It's probably just a joke. What if I'm really gonna die? This apartment's small. I'd hear if anyone was coming in. How could they find me anyway? Finally, he clicked the X, slowly and uneasily. It disappeared from the screen. Eric looked at the floor, expecting someone, or something, to leap out and attack him. But nothing happened. He looked up again and prepared to shut off the computer, but the pop-up appeared again, this time with a sound clip of a girl's voice saying, "Do you like?" Her voice was warped, as if the sound file had been badly compressed or corrupted. Eric moved away from the computer, his heart racing. He waited once more to see if it would go away or change somehow, but it didn't. Feeling slightly more confident, he clicked off the pop-up again. It returned a second later with the same garbled sound clip. If anything, Eric was beginning to feel embarrassed and irate. He clicked it off again, to which it reappeared again. He kept clicking, and yet it returned each time, always with the same audio clip. The room was filled with bursts of the girl's garbled little voice. "Do you? Do you? Do you? Do you?" After some clicking, Eric realized a word was coming from the line beside like. The sentence now read, "Do you like the?" ? "Do I like the what?" he said to himself, hoping to be eased by hearing his own voice in the room. He was now curious, and went back to clicking it over and over again. More text slid from the line, the letters in a different place every time a pop-up came up. "Do you like the R?" the distorted little girl squawked. "Do you like the red? Do you like the red? Do you like the red room? Do you like the red room? Red room?" Eric sat there for a second, his stomach churning. He was afraid to take his eyes off the message, unsure whether it would turn out to be a screamer or if he had gotten the virus. Both of these possibilities were 1,000 times more comforting to Eric at that moment. I found it, he told himself, his gut turning over harder now. I really found it. It's not a joke. This is real. He quickly went through his mind for any red room he'd ever heard of. He briefly thought the whole situation was funny and prepared to go on the phone and call Ramsey. And then the pop-up closed itself. Eric turned back to the screen. Immediately after, a full-size window popped up. It was nothing but an enormous text list of names on a red background. Eric, his hands now jittery, moved forward and scrolled through the window. Skimming over the hundreds of names, he stared at them, his eyes widening in horror. Caroline Chalmers, Kay Wright, John Bay, Lisa Newport, Roy Kindlers, Mickey Fox? And then Eric saw something that made his heart stop. At the very bottom of the list was the name Ramsey Holmgren. Ramsey? He spluttered. Upon thinking of him, Ramsey's warning of the pop-up resurfaced in his mind. Everybody on that list was dead. They'd found the red room before him. Eric thought he was going to cry, and something inside him was telling him to run straight to the front door and get as far away as possible from the monitor. But he couldn't move. All he could do was sit there, shivering. Eyes locked onto the red and black space that was Ramsey's name. Eric almost swore he could feel the sensation of cold, singing breath on the back of his neck. Before he could turn around, two hands clamped down on either of his shoulders and tightened their grip. Eric howled in pain, and before he knew it, he was slammed sidelong into the wall. On a Monday, 1 week later, two girls were sitting in their homeroom at Edwin McDonald High School waiting for their second period class to begin. One of the girls sat on her desk, kicking her legs back and forth. Were you listening to the news this weekend? Not really. Why? Well, two boys were found dead right before the weekend. They were found right in front of their computers with their stomachs gashed open. Oh no! Did they find out who did it? No, but the cops think it was a suicide pact. I don't want to freak you out, but they both had industrial paint brushes in their hands. They said the boys were trying to paint the walls of the room with their own blood. Oh my God! Why would they do that? Other classmates were crowding around, eager now to hear. This girl pulled a newspaper page from her satchel and handed it to her companion. Here's the article. I think the boys were from our school. Geez, the other girl frowned. What would make you do that to yourself? All right, well, that's the Red Room. So, it's a decent story and not really too many complaints. I mean, I do obviously have a few criticisms, but yeah, that's the Red Room. This was actually a pretty famous story as well. There's no credited author on this, so I'm just giving credit to the Creepypasta.Wiki page. But what do I think of this story? I mean, it definitely, a lot of work went into it, even for a barely 12 and a half minute story. They even made their own image of what the pop-up was supposed to look like, which is actually really creative and cool, so I give it points for that. But I mean, it is scary, the thought of this Red Room being a real thing, and it actually is rumored to be a real thing on the dark web. And who knows, maybe one day I'll have spine enough to do a story on the dark web. But yeah, no, there's rumors that this is real. And what a Red Room really is basically a online show on the dark web where people pay to watch someone get killed or severely maimed. And um, I haven't heard this side of the story yet, so I'm not entirely sure if this thing is true. And if it is, I mean, what connection does it have to what's reported to be real? But it was a good story. I wouldn't say it's the best one I've read so far because it's a little lacking in content. It even ended on like a very random note. Like, um, I mean, I get the fact that they both died, and that's a good way to end the story too. I mean, it's a horror story, but it just kind of ended mid conversation between these two girls in the classroom, and it doesn't really have closure at the end. Like, there was so much more room for content there, and everything kind of happened really fast. I mean, it kind of built on the creep factor, which is good, but I think it kind of halfway through was like, that's enough. You know, we'll give you the ending now. The fact that he felt these hands on his shoulder, icy cold, was incredibly creepy, and the fact that both him and Ramsey were found gutted, essentially, with a paintbrush in their hand, with blood written all over the wall. So it is a good story. Like I said, I just wish it had more content to it. So what do I think of this story as a whole, score-wise? Out of 10, I would have to give this a solid 6, maybe 6.5, because it is good. It has potential. It seems like the writer got bored and stopped writing it, from judging on the ending. So let me know what you guys think in the comments on my Facebook page and my newly formed email, talesforthedarkcis@gmail.com. With that being said, we are done with our first story for this episode, the Creepypasta story. So now we're going to move on to a case that I have been studying for a long time. It's probably the case that got me into true crime, interested in true crime. So let me pull that up on my phone here, get out of this story. So for our true crime case for today, we are going to be covering the case of John List. The case of John List is a disturbing one, to say the least. He was a man who was capable of murder as well as running away to start his life all over. But his psyche broke him down into becoming one of the creepiest killers we've covered thus far. The start of the story was not entirely a pleasant one. John met a widow after college, and they started seeing each other, but not too long after that, his girlfriend, named Helen, claimed that she was pregnant. This led to John, a man of intense faith in the Lutheran Church, deciding to marry her. However, during the events of their wedding, Helen broke the news that she was, in fact, not pregnant. Although John was upset, his religious values meant too much to him, and he ended up going through with the marriage anyway. And after a while, she ended up getting pregnant for real, and they would go on to have a total of 3 kids within the span of 4 years. John became stressed with the pressure of providing for his wife and 3 kids, but it seemed he was never able to keep a job. Reports suggest that he was never let go due to poor job performance, stating, quote, he was meticulous and hard-working, but that he was let go because he rubbed his bosses and co-workers the wrong way. They always seemed to sense the darkness hiding behind the facade of the religious man. Eventually, things started to look up for John List and his family when John received a new job as vice president of a bank in New Jersey. His wife, Helen, begged for John to purchase the home she deemed her dream home. This home was essentially a small mansion, having 19 rooms, including a ballroom. This will be relevant later. Many considered this home to be the most expensive, and in the most expensive neighborhood in town. At the time, John could not afford the New Jersey mansion, but rather than start an argument with his wife, he decided to go to his mother named Alma for financial support. John took on the personality of his deceased father, who was quoted as being a traditional and distant type. Despite that, his mother Alma was devoted to her son and helped him with the money to buy the mansion, but in exchange for a room on the third floor, and all was good for the following 6 years. At that point, things started to go downhill for John. Less than a year was all it took for him to be let go from his job at the bank, this time also being due to the discomfort he caused in his coworkers and customers. But being afraid to face his family with his failure, he continued to pretend to go to work, getting dressed up, taking the train into town, and then later returning, all the while skimming money off his mother's accounts. He would go on to get many jobs, all with the same result: him being fired. He was bankrupt by 1971, which caused him even more stress, as his Lutheran beliefs say poverty was a sin. To add to his personal paranoid stress, he believed his 3 children were succumbing to what he called the sinful culture of the 1970s. He worried the most about his daughter, Patricia, who had aspired to be an actress, to which John detested, believing it was an especially corrupt line of profession. Rumors around town saying that she was also smoking marijuana and experimenting with witchcraft evidently reached John as well. But that's not all, because his wife had been hiding a secret of her own, and eventually she was unable to hide it any longer, as her health began to deteriorate at a rapid pace. Not too long after they moved to the area, she began falling down randomly and experiencing blackouts. She was going blind in one eye as well, and this caused her to turn to tranquilizers and drinking. She had some tests done between the years of 1968 and 1969 that revealed she had been suffering from tertiary syphilis. That one's a hard one to pronounce, sorry. This reportedly was a result of being with her first husband. Whether it was the dementia brought on by the syphilis or just spite, Helen stopped attending church services with John, which he resented immensely. John was a reserved man, and let this all bottle up for a long time. Even though the bankruptcy was foreseen for a while, the bonds of their situation were unacceptable to John. He considered the possibility of suicide, but with his religious background and beliefs, it was never an option, though his growing anger grew with them. John loved his family in his own sick way, and he at least wanted to know that he would see them again, in a different life. The verbal abuse of his wife, the sinful nature of his kids, and the blasphemy of poverty had undone the psyche of John. In his mind, there was only one way he could solve the issues he had, and he planned it in great detail. He waited till his 3 children left for school to put his plan into motion. He then waited for his wife, Helen, to come down for her typical morning coffee, all the while making small talk with her as he snuck up behind her with a pistol. He then shot Helen in the side of the head with a 9mm pistol, killing her immediately. He then placed her body on a sleeping bag and dragged it into the ballroom, but his massacre was only just beginning. From there, John went upstairs to visit his 83-year-old mother, Alma, in her room. At the time, Alma was making herself breakfast. John, feeling the guilt of what was happening, gave her a kiss on the cheek. Then he pulled a gun and shot her in the temple. Unable to move her down to the ballroom, he simply threw a towel over her face and left her body where it was. He then returned downstairs to the scene of his first murder, cleaning up a ghastly amount of blood. He then proceeded to erase their existence, as he called his kids' schools, his pastor, his boss, and even the paper and milk boys, saying they will no longer be needing their service as they were going on a trip to North Carolina to assist a sick relative. He then proceeded to the post office where he mailed the letters and canceled the mailing service. The letter he wrote to his pastor, however, showed less of a sense of remorse, more of an apology for taking up the pastor's time. His confession laid in this letter. From the post office, John ventured to the bank where he cashed in his own mother's savings bond for the sum of $2,000. Then he made his way home, where he made himself lunch and waited for his kids to return home. Conveniently enough for John, his daughter, Patricia, called home ill from school, and he went and brought her home. But as soon as he did, he put a bullet in her jaw with his .22 caliber antique pistol and repeated what he had did with his wife and dragged her lifeless body to the ballroom, again on a sleeping mat, and positioned her next to her mother. Fred, one of John's sons, was the next one through the door, and in turn, John murdered him in the same fashion and laid his body next to those of his already deceased family members. All the while, his last son, John Jr., was at an after-school soccer game. John Sr. drove to the game and watched him, and then gave him a lift home afterwards. But once they made it into their home and to the kitchen, John Sr. pulled his pistol out again and shot his last son in the back of the head. But this time, the victim survived, leading his father to shoot him 9 more times. He then proceeded to place him with his family members, all on sleeping bags, almost ritualistically placed. He prayed over their lifeless bodies with Lutheran hymn, then cleaned up the blood as fast as he could. Then he continued with the daily house chores, such as cleaning dishes, before going to sleep, to which he was quoted saying, quote, "I haven't slept better than I had in years." The following day, he changed the AC in the house in order to preserve the bodies. Afterwards, he turned on every light in the house to sell the illusion that everything was fine. He then turned the house radio to his favorite classical music station. From there, he sat down in the kitchen and began to write a confession letter to his pastor. The disturbing part is that he was less concerned about what he had done and had been more concerned and apologetic for taking up the pastor's time. When he had finished, he found all the family photos and cut himself out of every one. Then he left and disappeared for a very, very long time. This was only the start of his attempt to avoid justice. From his house, he drove to JFK International Airport and ditched his car. He then took a bus back into the city where he caught a train to Denver, Colorado. From there, John filed for Social Security under the name Robert Peter Clark, to which he began his new lease on life. In this time, the Mansion of Horrors sat dormant, and no one suspected a thing. As weeks began to fly by, lights began to burn out, leaving the mansion in the dark while the classical music continued to play. But the List family was notoriously reclusive, and it took a month before anyone took notice. But eventually, Patricia List's drama teacher became concerned with her missing. He always found John List to be a strange man and suspected the worst due to Patricia telling him she was worried her dad was going to kill them all. This and Patricia's testimony caused her drama teacher to convince another teacher to tag along as they go and check on her at her home. With some neighbors becoming suspicious of the pair loitering around the house, the police were evidently called, but the teachers would be gone by the time they had arrived. Officers George Zelisnik and Charles Haller were the first ones to show up, receiving no answer when they knocked. They peeked in through the windows and couldn't find anything. But the neighbors continued to insist something was off, so the officers found an unlocked window to enter through. The house was cold, with one light left on in the upper level, leaving most of the house in complete darkness. But the creepiest thing was the almost funeral-like music still playing. It was echoing throughout the house as the cops cautiously searched. That is, until they came across a curtain blocking off the entrance to the ballroom. When they opened it, the smell of death hit like a brick wall. Beyond the curtains, officers discovered the bodies of the three kids, Patricia, Frederick, and John Jr., as well as their mother, Helen, deceased. Their bodies were laid on sleeping bags and lined up on the floor of the ballroom, with all of their faces covered. Continuing their search, police came across his confession letter, as well as the guns he used in the homicide. The note also told the police where to find Alma, John's mother, upstairs. Immediately, the manhunt was on for John List. Not too long after, they found his car abandoned at JFK International Airport. Finding no evidence to suggest he purchased a flight, the trail quickly dwindled and List was gone. That August, the mansion caught fire, and it is believed to be set on purpose. It was later discovered that the stained glass window located in the same room the bodies were discovered was signed by Louise Comfort Tiffany. This made the window worth upwards of $100,000, which would be more than enough to solve List's financial issues. Through the years, they were unable to catch him or obtain many leads, leading to them to get his face on the TV show Unsolved Mysteries, but with no luck. Years and years passed until the case was featured on the hit show on Fox, America's Most Wanted, hosted by John Walsh. Police hoped this would get the word out and help them solve this now cold case. Walsh used every resource available to him to help authorities in solving this case, including calling on forensic sculptor Frank Bender. Using these resources, Walsh was able to put together an image of what List would look like after all these years. In the end, the bust was almost an exact match to the real thing. The show aired on May 21st, 1989, with reports saying up to 22 million people were watching, including his new neighbors. Wanda Flannery and daughter Eva Michelle called into the FBI tip line almost immediately. They claimed their neighbor, named Bob Clark, closely resembled the face and lifestyle of John List, and that they've already been suspicious of the mysterious man. This led to the FBI sending an agent to Clark's home located in Richmond, Virginia, to find that he had started a new family. His wife, named Dolores, provided the agents with crucial information stating that List had found himself a job as an accountant, and they set off to the office. After being approached and being asked if he was Bob Clark, the agents confronted him. John denied being John List, and he denied it even after his fingerprint reports showed he was a match to the gun permit he had acquired. To no avail, List was arrested and charged with a total of 5 counts of murder, with his trial happening 18 years later after the murder of his entire family. After he was tested by court psychiatrists, List was diagnosed with OCD, which his defense team used to try and bring the charge down from first-degree murder to second-degree murder, although this didn't work. After 9 hours of deliberation, on April 11th, John List was found guilty on all counts of first-degree murder and sentenced to 5 consecutive life sentences. The courtroom broke out in applause, but Walsh wasn't. He aimed for him to receive the death penalty. Officer Bender was held in high regards for his efforts and the bust, although unfortunately he succumbed to mesothelioma in 2011. John List appealed his case, but was subsequently rejected. It was theorized that he was on the spectrum, but it's just that, a theory. Regardless, John List died in prison on March 21st, 2008, from complications with pneumonia at the age of 82. But the fact remains, the case of John List proves how a man can spiral and resort to things as low as murder. His family didn't deserve the treatment they got, and karma eventually caught up with him. After 18 years in hiding, his reign of terror had finally ended. Alright, so that is the case of John List. And, well, what can I say about this guy? Well, obviously, he is no saint, despite what he probably thought he was. He killed his entire family in an insane thought that he could save them and see them again by killing them. But by doing so, you go against every one of your beliefs. I mean, it's insane. And I do believe he is insane, but that doesn't give him the right to do what he did to his family. And honestly, I think he is sane enough to recognize what he did do. And that's just horrible. Now, the show, My Worst Nightmare, or Your Worst Nightmare, I should say, really doesn't get the story completely right. So if you guys do find that episode, and I will find it too if you guys ask and put it in the comments or something, but in the show, they were all wrapped up in the sleeping bags, and the officer revealed it by opening up the sleeping bag and finding the decaying body of Patricia. But that's not how it happened. They were all laid out on top of the sleeping bags with cloths and rags thrown over their faces, whether that be because John List felt guilty or it was some sick ritualistic thing. I don't know. But the fact remains, this is probably one of the creepiest true crime cases I've ever covered. And, well, I haven't covered that many, but it's still the creepiest one I've ever come across. One of them. There are still a lot of sick ones out there. So, I'm not going to give this a score, but what are my thoughts about John List? I'm glad this guy was eventually caught, and I know he was sentenced to life in prison, and that's exactly what happened. He died in prison, but I always say that that's kind of more justice than just a death sentence, because you're not making them suffer for what they did to their victims, and in this case, it was his own family and his own mother. So this is one sick, twisted individual, and I think yet again, the world is probably a better place without him. So, I'm not going to give this a score. Like always, I don't give true crime cases scores out of respect for the friends and family members of the victims. In this case, pretty much the entire family was the victim. So, rest in peace, List family, everyone except John, because you definitely don't deserve that. But with that, we are going to be getting into our third and final story, which is going to be our paranormal/cryptid story. And I think this one's going to be something that you guys are going to enjoy. This is actually something that was also sent to me as a request, so I'm pretty excited. Let me get this story off, and I will pull that up real fast. Our next story is going to be our third and final story for the episode, and this is going to be our cryptid story. So, without further ado, let's get into it. This is the story of the Fresno Nightcrawlers. The Fresno Nightcrawler is a cryptid indigenous and originally to Fresno, California. Although a second sighting was captured in Yosemite National Park, this cryptid is a little more believable due to the fact that both sightings were caught on camera. Even so, a third person located in Poland claims to have also encountered and captured the mysterious creature on tape. Either true or not, it still begs the question, what are these creatures and why are they here? The Nightcrawler, also known as the Fresno Alien, has the appearance of for lack of better words, a kid with a white ghostly sheet covering them. The legs appear as if they stretch well into the upper part of their abdomen. Their walk and stance make it appear as if they are walking on stilts, although the nature of these cryptids are unknown. They appear to wander in a group, slowly, with seemingly no harmful intentions, although that is not confirmed. But the Fresno Nightcrawlers go by yet another name, the Carmel Area Creature. A witness around the age of 60 who was an ex-Marine and his wife were driving near the town of Carmel in mid-December of 2014. That's when they came across a 7-foot-tall, slender gray figure. This led to the given name mentioned before. To quote the witness, quote, "We recently bought a place in the Fort Hill area. We first noticed after about 30 days of living here that we suddenly had a perfect circle that stays fresh green no matter what weather in our front yard. On Friday night, the 12th, we were driving home. After turning on Carmel Road, which leads to our road, we went around the curve by the Carmel Church and then up a small incline, and approximately 10 feet over the incline in front of our truck, the, quote, alien ran across the road and into the woods," unquote. There are those who believe this Carmel Area Creature is a variant of the Nightcrawlers, and more sightings of this marginally different cryptid appear in the Ohio area. Moving back to the Nightcrawlers, as mentioned previously, one of the most notable sightings occurred in Yosemite National Park, where the cryptid was captured on our trail camera. In the video, a pair of the mysterious creatures were seen slowly walking down the hillside and right past the camera. The creatures appeared short, standing an estimated 0.5 meters, and with what appeared to be some sort of webbing connecting the legs of the body to the body, with the legs being overly extended. The footage from Poland appeared to show a very similar figure, although the footage is tough to study, as it appears it was filmed from a handheld camera who shook seemingly uncontrollably. The footage was a short duration, so not a whole lot can be taken from the film. I have briefly touched on a general description, but I will go into a little more detail. The Fresno Nightcrawler is a short creature, typically around 1.5 meters tall. Their legs take up a majority of their height and body. Lack of discernible footage prevents much of any details from their upper bodies. It's almost unnaturally thin, in what appears to be a white cloth. This covers their entire body. It doesn't appear to have any arms, and again, like I mentioned earlier, the larger ones appear to have a webbing connecting their knees to their abdomen. According to reports, their walk and stature resemble that of someone walking on stilts. Due to poor video quality, many people claim that this is the same cryptid as we have mentioned earlier as the Carmel area monster. Moving more into the lore of the Nightcrawler, some believe these creatures are of Native American descent, although this theory has been since debunked. The true original sighting took place in Fresno, as the name of the cryptid suggests. Not much more is known in the terms of the origin it exists. But this subject is not without its fair share of hoaxes. This includes a video of a puppet walking down an alleyway from YouTuber Captain Disillusion. Although his intentions were not for publicity for himself, as he claims that it was simply to show how easy videos of cryptids can be faked. This is according to the Cryptid Wiki. This leads into our theories, as to what these cryptids, the Nightcrawlers, actually are. Mind you, these are actually all theories. And at this point, I'm going to kind of do something a little different. I'm going to take a page from the Strange Sessions playbook, and I'm going to go through a couple theories here and kind of give my personal thoughts on them. You are more than welcome to write your personal theories down below. But this is a short story. I couldn't find too much information on this. I found a lot of theories, so I figured I would talk through these. So these are the theories as to what could explain the Nightcrawler. Number one is an alien or an extraterrestrial being. This is conceivable in a way. I'm not one to deny aliens or extraterrestrial beings at all. So this is entirely possible, but I don't think that this is alien or something from another planet, because it's a crazy thing. And I will probably post the link to the original video or any video I can find with the original footage, so you guys can see too. So an alien or ET, I can't buy it. So that's theory number one. Let me know what you guys think. This could be it. That's all it could be, is just an alien or an ET. That's what I'm going to call it from now on, because I cannot pronounce that word. So, number two would be a person wearing big pants or walking on stilts. This could also be it, but there's multiple figures in the original video, so I mean, you'd have to get a whole lot of people together doing the same exact thing, looking the same exact way, and with how they do look in the video, I gotta say that's not it. That's not it at all. It looks like these guys put on a giant white sheet like ghosts and started walking, except that their legs are stretching all the way up to their necks. That's how messed up these creatures looked. So I can't buy a person wearing big pants and walking on stilts, personally. This is only theory 2 out of 7. So you guys give your thoughts down below on what you think this could be, because I don't know. Because number 3 is a whole entire different species. So yeah, number 3, an entire different species. It could be. There's a whole lot of the world that we haven't discovered yet, and that goes into mostly the oceans, deep down, but I'm sure there's a few species on land side that we haven't discovered yet. That being said, I haven't heard of any creature that throws a white blanket over themselves and walks very creepy down a hillside, in groups, mind you. So I can't say that a new species is a theory that I agree with, to be honest. That leads into theory 4, which would be a bird walking like a crane, which would probably be the stupidest theory I've ever heard. Like I said, I will post the video to the page if you haven't seen it, but I think most people have seen this by now if you're into this kind of stuff. What crane puts a blanket over itself? Multiple cranes, like I said in the last one, and just struts nonchalantly down a hillside. It's not a bird walking like a crane. If you put a blanket over a bird, it's gonna freak the fudge out. So I mean, it's not It's possible, but I can guarantee you that it's not. So that would be theory number 4. Sorry for almost swearing there. I mean, that one kind of just was like, are you kidding me? Like, but number 5 is a misidentified deer standing upright. Again, it doesn't work with the video footage. They were walking so calmly down the hillside. I mean, a deer walking on 2 legs down the hillside and so nonchalantly. I have a better chance of getting coal from Santa Claus, to be honest. Like, I'm sorry, but that's not what's happening here. That is probably even worse theory than number 4. And of course, you guys are more than welcome to voice your opinions too on what this might be, because I might be completely wrong in all this, and I'm completely okay with admitting that. So, but if you're gonna tell me that it's gonna be a bird walking like a crane or a deer standing upright, I mean, yeah, you're not gonna convince me. I've seen the videos. I'll post the videos. That is not what this is. But that leads into number 5, which is a misidentified number 6. A YouTuber demonstrated the fact that you could recreate this in a video using a puppet or pants on a wire. And that's very possible in this thing too. But at the same time, in the video that I viewed of the original Fresno Nightcrawlers, there's multiple Nightcrawlers kind of walking down the hill. So that leads me to believe that, I mean, you're going to need a lot of legwork if you're going to fake that. I mean, there's 2 figures walking down the hill, and you need wires and pants to do that. By the way, you can't see the pants. It's only a giant white sheet, and you can make out the incredibly long legs just kind of stumbling down as if they were on stilts going down the hill, which is very hard to recreate. This guy did, going down an alleyway, but I don't think it would be possible in this scenario where you're in the middle of a forest on a game camera and you have multiple creatures of this nature walking down the hill. I don't think it's possible to recreate, so I don't believe that one much as I want to. And you guys are more than welcome to comment down below what you think this is. I can't put a finger down on it, and none of these theories ever really kind of solved it for me, so I can't tell you either way. But I added this 7th one myself. The other 6 were from my research website, but number 7 is gonna be just a supernatural being, which I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to believe in my own theory on this. There's a lot of theories here, and I can't say I believe in all of them, because I don't, but I think this is a supernatural being, and that's number 7. A supernatural being. I think this thing is not of this world. It's a cryptid, and there have been multiple sightings of this thing. There's actual physical evidence of this thing being in existence, I should say. And the evidence shows that this is not something from here, I think this is a supernatural being or extraterrestrial being. I think those are the 2 biggest possibilities, because this thing hasn't been captured much besides the 3 times that it has been. And I mean, it doesn't seem dangerous to us as humans, but it does creep us out. a hell of a lot. And I'm not going to walk away without saying that. So, you guys got my opinion on the thing. I think it's a supernatural being. It's up for debate. And I really want your opinion on all of this. So I got 7 theories here. I will go through them one more time before I end this episode, or get into the final part of this episode. But I have number 1, an alien or extra ET being. I'm not going to say that word again. Which ET I do believe. 2, a person wearing big pants or walking on stilts. No, because they are short. Number 3, a new species. We've been here for how many thousands of years? I think we would have seen something like that by now, especially on land. So it's going to be a no on that one too. Number 4, a bird walking like a crane. When have you seen 2 cranes put white bedcloths on themselves and walk down a hillside like it's no big deal? So that's a no, and plus the stature didn't meet what we saw on that. Number 5, a misidentified deer standing upright, which I shouldn't even have to debunk, because, I mean, the video itself shows it looks like a 2-inch torso with a 5-foot legs. So I'm not even gonna entertain that one, to be honest. Number 6, as a YouTuber demonstrated, it was a hoax, using a puppet and pants on a wire. I get that. It's very easy to recreate. But, yes, there's always a but. Your environment was completely different. You filmed it down an alleyway, whereas the original video was taken in a national park forest using a game camera. So, not only that, but looking at the original Fresno Nightcrawler videotape, I can't agree with you on that. I mean, you can't... There's no pants involved, bro. Like, it's like 2 legs walking with a white sheet over it. That's what it looks like. You can't recreate that completely. You may have got it close. I'm not gonna deny you that, but... And number 7, which would be mine, which is probably what I would consider to be the end-all, be-all theory for these, which would be a supernatural being. I think these guys are supernatural. I mean, I don't know. It's up for debate. So, what do you guys think? I want to know down in the comments below, whether it be on YouTube, on my Facebook, to my email, which, by the way, little short plug there, it's talesforthedarkcis@gmail.com. I want to know what you guys think. Do you think this is a real thing? The video footage shows that it is. I, for one, also think it exists. These things exist. But that's really all up for debate. Whether or not this cryptid does exist, their presence is certainly known. But it also raises the question, what are they doing here? And are they actually real? Well, they say seeing is believing, but when even footage is up in the air, only one thing I know is I would not want to run into these things. I wouldn't. They don't seem evil, they don't seem malicious, but they're still creepy, you know? I mean, I wouldn't want to run into these things on a dark, lonely night. So, what would I think of this cryptid as a whole? That's actually a good question, because I believe they exist 100%. cryptid nightcrawlers, I believe 99% of the cryptids I've explored and discovered and researched so far are existent, but I think this one is not really anything to be fearful of. It seems like it wants to just do its own thing, kind of just wander and meander, do its own thing, and I don't think there's anything to fear. What would I give this cryptid as a total? Kind of like the true crime, I don't really like giving these cryptids scores, but I would probably say probably 7 out of 10. Oh no, I'd probably go 8 out of 10. These things exist. There have been multiple sightings and footage captures of this creature. And like I said, I will post the captures to the Facebook page, but it's too convincing to ignore. And I think you will agree once you see the footage and hear my theories that I'm right on this. I don't want to sound like a narcissist by saying that, but I want to know what you guys think. So drop a comment in the comment section down below, whether that be on YouTube, my Facebook page, YouTube, whatever. I've already said that. I'm sounding like a broken record, but let me know what you guys think. I really appreciate it, because you guys are honestly the people that give me ideas on what to do next. So with that, we are going to get into our final stage of the episode, which would be our shout outs, and I got a surprise taste test for you guys too. So let me put this away and pull that out, and we will get to that. Alright, so getting into our final little tidbit for this episode, we have our new listeners, which I'm going to go through pretty quickly today because we have a lot of them, and I still have another thing to do before we get into the end of this. So, starting with Mackenzie H. Thank you very much for joining the podcast. I've known you for many years, and I really do appreciate and love your support. So thank you very much for joining. We have 2 new listeners, Nate and Rasputina. Thank you guys both very much for joining the podcast and listening. If you guys ever have any suggestions, you know where to find me. So, and that would be the Facebook page, just saying. So, thank you very much for joining and supporting the podcast. I really do appreciate you two very much. So, that leads into another 2 of my old classmates. That would be Crystal H and Alyssa E. Thank you both very much for joining the podcast. I love and admire you both. You guys have honestly been very amazing, whether it be my podcast, whether it be my high school career, everything. You guys have been amazing. So thank you very much, Alyssa and Crystal. That leads into my aunt, which would be Nicole K. I love you so much. I mean, you are one of the nicest people I have ever met in my life. And you deserve every little bit of gratification that I can give you. So thank you very much, Nicole. I love you. Thank you for supporting me and your entire family. I could not think of a better mother. So thank you very much. We got Mary Lou D and Jax B, a couple of new guys starting out on the podcast. So thank you two very much as well. I really do appreciate any support I can get from this, and I mean, that includes you guys. So I haven't met you guys yet, but I'm really hoping to get to know you throughout the course of this podcast. So thank you very much for listening, and I love you guys. Thank you for listening. So that leads to Stuart D and Frederick O. Same thing with you guys. I have not had the pleasure of meeting you guys yet. I'm having a lot of people join now that I have not met in person, and that's not a bad thing. So thank you guys very much for joining the podcast. I love you guys too, and I hope that we can get to know each other throughout the course of this podcast. So send me suggestions, and I will try to adhere to them. So thank you very much. Let's see here. Leads to Paul B. You know who you are. This is another new listener that I really have not spoken to before this podcast, but me and him have actually gotten to know each other a little bit better outside the podcast. So, Paul, thank you so much for supporting the podcast. And if you ever have any suggestions, you know you're one of the first people I go to. So, thank you very much, Paul. And I can't wait to hear more from you. So, thank you very much. So, I got to scroll up a little bit more here because it doesn't not show the ones I've invited to. So, okay, going up to Brittany M. You got the same name as my sister, man. I mean, tell you. I mean, my sister's gonna be thinking she's getting credit off this, but alright. Brittany M. You are, I believe, the sister of a person I went to school with named Austin B. Again, I don't say last names for the sake of privacy, but you are an awesome person. I haven't spoken to you too much, but we've gotten to know each other a little bit through our posts on Facebook, and you are an amazing person. So don't ever change, don't ever do anything different, because you are awesome. Brittany M. So thank you very much for joining the podcast, listening in, even liking the page. So thank you very much. That leads to Crystal L, which is a person that I met through my good friend Josh. And I suppose this is my podcast. I can say whatever the hell I want. Yeah, I had a crush on you from the second I met you. So, but I know at the same time, Josh kind of was on the up and up about it, so I didn't act on it. But all the same, you are a very good friend, so thank you very much. You're an amazing person, and you're an even greater mother. So, thank you very much for supporting me on my podcast, and I hope I could do more for you in the future as well. So, thank you very much, Crystal. You are awesome, and we'll move on from there. So, I got to scroll up a little bit more again. So, I got Casey A, which is another ex-classmate that I went to school with in Lincoln. Very awesome person. I mean, this guy is probably the one person that I would do anything for, because he would do anything for you. This guy is the salt of the earth, the nicest person you could ever hope to meet. So thank you very much, Casey. I love you, and thank you so much for joining the podcast. And that leads into kind of another situation like that with Andrew K., another good friend I've known for many, many years. This guy would literally give you the shirt off his back if he could. So thank you very much, Andrew. I love you too. You are a very great person, and you deserve the world. That leads into Brianna V, which is another person I had a crush on in high school, and she knows it. You are also a very good person. I really only have good feelings towards good people, and you are a good person. So thank you very much for joining the podcast, because you really are everything that I tell you that you are, and that is a fantastic person. So thank you very much, Brianna. That leads into another great person I've met along the way. That would be Tabitha N. So thank you very much, Tabitha. I mean, same thing with you. You are an amazing person, and I mean, your bike crew comes in to to my work shell all the time, and all of you are the sweetest people I've ever met in my life, and I look forward to when you guys actually do come into the store. So thank you very much, Tabitha. You guys are great, and I hope you know that. That leads into my sister's boyfriend. That would be, I mean, his name on Facebook, I'll just use that. It's going to be Amigo Orthe Amigo. Not his real name, obviously, but you know who you are, and you know how much I think you are awesome, bro. I mean, you're dating my sister, and I'm very protective of my sister. So if you're dating her and I'm okay with it, you already got a leg up on pretty much every other person that's ever dated her in the past. So, uh, you know who you are, amigo. You are my amigo. You are awesome. You are fantastic. And I can't wait to welcome you into the family officially. So thank you very much, man. I really appreciate you and your family and how you've treated my sister. Because I'm very protective of her. And you've been treating her well. So thank you. That leads to my cousin's wife, which I should say the same thing. Don't mess with me. I'm just kidding. Melisha L. I'm not going to say last names, even though it is technically part of my family last names. Melisha, you, I mean, I haven't met you in person, to be honest. But, I mean, we've had interactions through Facebook, and I can tell you that I'm already going to love you. Like, we're going to be best friends. And I can honestly say, sorry, that's not a choice. We're going to be best friends. Like, you are awesome just from your posts. So, get ready for that. And thank you so much for supporting the podcast. I really do love you like family, even though like I said, we haven't met. You are family to me, and I really do appreciate you. So thank you very much. That leads to a couple of people that I have known for a long time here. That leads into a gentleman named Matt Y, which is a person I've known for a couple years now. He came into GameStop all the time when I managed there, as well as a few times at Shell when I worked there. He is a very great guy. Salt of the earth. Again, most of the people on this list that I know are like that. So thank you very much, Matt, for liking the podcast. You are a great person, and thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to like this podcast. Goes into another one I've worked with in the past named Ruby L. Not sure this is your last name, so I'm not going to say it either way, but I loved working with you. I mean, you and your hubby, I mean, have been fantastic people to me, and I can't say that about a whole lot of people, even though I do. You guys have been fantastic to me, and I couldn't ask for better friends, to be honest. I mean, yeah, that's all I can say. So thank you very much, Ruby. And that leads into my next one, which will be Joel B., another classmate of mine from the old days at Lincoln. You are an awesome person as well, man. I mean, we both went through the ringer at Lincoln. I mean, we never really saw eye to eye, I mean, with other people, but we always kind of stuck together. So thank you very much for joining, and I really do appreciate everything. I mean, everything, dude. You're a good man. You know, like, that's all I can say. So Mary Ann M will be the next one on our list, and she worked with me at Shelf for a brief time, but she also had a very big impact on my life. So thank you very much, Mary. You've been supportive of literally everything I've ever done in my life since I've met you. So thank you very much. I do love you and support you back. I hope that you don't think it's just a one-way street. I got Michael R. So, I don't know you personally, but I believe my mother does, and you've always been supportive of me, so I am going to be supportive of you. And so, thank you very much for joining the podcast. I really do appreciate it. And leading into that, we have Marcus A. No profile picture, no nothing, but it does not stray away from the fact that I do appreciate you for joining the podcast as a whole, because everyone is welcome here, and I really hope you are going to send submissions in, give me ideas of what I need to do next. So thank you very much, Marcus. I hope to hear more from you in the future. Leads to Kimberly S., another person I kind of had a thing for in the past, but also a very good person. And what can I say about you? You are a great person. I mean, I know so many great people out there, but you kind of take the cake, because I don't think I've ever seen a second where you've been mean to someone. And I really, really admire that. And that's just because I can't do it myself. I mean, there are sarcastic people out there, there are jokesters, there are, I mean, whatever you call it. But I don't think you have a bad bone in your body. So thank you very much, Kimberly. I really appreciate you, and thank you so much for joining the podcast. Leads to Joshua, which is another person like Kimberly. He's actually the brother of one of my former roommates, and he actually would visit my house more often than I would probably be there. And that's not a bad thing, because I love this guy. Not in that way. But this guy is, I mean, he just loves people. I mean, he does not care who you are, what you are, what you identify as. This guy is I don't even have words. You are a fantastic person, man. And honestly, you deserve more, uh, gratification for that. So thank you very much, Josh. I love you. You're a great person, and don't ever change, because we need more people like you on this earth. That leads into a few more before I end this. We got Becca M, Robin S, and I haven't met you guys, but I really hope to keep learning more about you guys as this podcast continues, because I really do rely on your suggestions and you as a whole. So thank you very much for joining. I appreciate your support, and I will try not to put it in vain. That leads to a couple more that I know personally. That would be Brittany F and Nicholas M. Love both you guys. I actually dated Brittany for a brief time, and I know her husband, I think. I don't know if you guys are married or not now. I'm sorry if I got that wrong. But both of you, are some of the most fantastic people ever, that I've ever met. And same goes for Nick. comes in the shell all the time. If I could have an older version of myself, Nick would be me. And that's not a bad thing because I'm saying that because I love you and you're a fantastic person. And I'd be lucky to turn into half the guy that you are. So thank you very much, Brittany and Nick. Leads into David B and D King S. So I haven't met you guys personally, but same thing as with everyone else. If you have suggestions, please send them in to me. I really do appreciate any feedback or suggestions I can get. So I really do appreciate you guys. Thank you for joining the podcast, and I hope we can get to know each other a little bit more throughout this process. So thank you so much. Leads to a couple more. I got Shane and Jonathan, a couple people I know personally. You guys are awesome people. You know who you are. And same thing, join in with the discussions, send me some suggestions, what I can do better, all that stuff. So thank you both, Jonathan and Shane. Thank you so much for joining the podcast. I love you guys both, and we will talk a little more in the future. So I just have to scroll up here to find my next user. So I got David S and Andrea L and Erica A. So thank you all for joining. I know you all personally as friends from my high school days and Shell days, and I love you all very much. So thank you very much for your support and joining. That leads into did I say Erica? Well, I'm gonna give Erica another shout out. So Erica, Jordan, and Brandon, thank you all for joining. Same reasons. I have known you all for years, and you've all been fantastic people, and I could not ask for better people to join this podcast with me. So we got a few left here. We got Todd H, Silas R, Stephen M, which Stephen, you've been very active in the community, so thank you very much, because I could not ask for a better listener than you, because you've been amazing. Not to take away from Silas and Todd, because you both are fantastic as well. So don't, yeah. Okay, so I'm moving on. We got Marissa S, Neil M, we got Taylor T, my manager, actually, Cameron M, and Tori G, all of which I know personally, and all of you are fantastic people, and I could not do this without you, because it's been a rough couple weeks, and especially Carmen knows, I could not do it without you. So thank you all very much for liking the page, and I'm so sorry that this took so long. Even trying to rush like I did, it takes a long time to do this. And that leads into the final part of our podcast, which is going to be a surprise taste test, and that is going to be sea salted seaweed chips. So I'm going to pull that out right now, and I'm going to pause the recording because it's going to be loud. So yeah, I'm going to pull that out. Pause the recording because it's probably going to be a little bit on the loud side. So let me pull that out real quick here. Yeah. Okay, so I've got seaweed chips. Let me look at the package here. It's organic seaweed snacks, sea salted. 30 calories per serving. I don't know what a serving is. 2 per serving. So I got a lot here. So that's more than 2 Okay. All right. These are black, so I'm not sure how I feel about this. Oh god. Okay, so I keep doing this to myself. I keep giving myself the worst foods possible. Okay, so organic seaweed snacks, sea salted chips. Let's try it. Okay. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. That tastes like straight up fish. I can't do this. Okay. Oh my god. Why do I do this to myself? Oh, I can't finish this. There's like 30 of these in here. I'm a quarter of the way through one. Oh my god, I gotta take another bite, don't I? Oh my god. Okay. Oh god. Yeah, it's not good. Oh my god, I'm throwing this away. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm halfway through one of them. And then that is the worst thing I've ever tasted. And I would rather eat the crickets again. Oh my god. Is there fish baked in there? Okay. Oh my god. Why did I eat that? Why? Okay, why? This looks like a tinfoil. There's like 30 of them in here. I'm not gonna eat this. I can't even eat the one. Okay, alright. So, surprise taste test and surprise failure on that one. I'm gonna give that a 1 out of 10. Because I'm never gonna get the taste of fish out of my mouth now. So, thank you very much, guys. That was actually sent in from my good friends Gabe and Justice. I actually got a care package from them with a couple things that I can try for a taste test, and I can tell you that is never happening again. Y'all can send me stuff, but I can't promise I'm gonna taste it because that was horrible. I'm gonna wash it down with literally some beer. Oh my god. So, ugh. 1 out of 10. 1 out of 10. There is... I'm smelling it as I talk. That's how bad it is. Okay. So, that ends our episode for today. So, in 2 weeks, we will be doing episode 5, and I'm pretty sure you guys will be liking that a lot too. We will be doing another taste test, some more dad jokes, and of course, we got the creepypasta, true crime, and cryptid stories for you guys to enjoy. So, without further ado, I need to go wash out my mouth. From the cellar here down in... It's not the strange cellar because it's not that pretty, but from Tales from the Dark, my name is Devin Zahn, and thank you guys so much for listening, and I will see you guys in the next episode. I'm out.